After a car accident, I became blind. Just as I was thankful to still have a loving husband, I found a piece of lingerie at home that wasn't mine. The lace on the lingerie was incredibly soft, yet it tore my heart to shreds. I only preferred the feel of cotton lingerie. Whose was it, then? Had betrayed me? No, that's impossible. Marcus and I had been together for 10 years, married for 3. He'd always been consistent, never showing the slightest bit of disdain, even after I lost my sight. He loved me deeply. Besides, it was my birthday today, and I didn't want any shadow to fall over such a beautiful day. As I was thinking, I heard the sound of the door opening in the entryway. I was about to ask who it was, just like always, but then I heard an unfamiliar woman's voice first. "Hello, Grace." I quickly shoved the silk lingerie I was holding under the throw pillow behind me. "Who are you?" Marcus had never brought a stranger home before, this was a first. Immediately after, Marcus's voice spoke. "Grace, this is Chloe, my secretary. The company had too many documents to approve today, so I asked her to help bring them back." Marcus's tone was still gentle, and he even placed a bag of washed strawberries on my lap. "I bought your favorite strawberries. I'll take her to the home office to handle the documents and be back soon." After saying that, he gently kissed my forehead. I smiled and assented, listening as their footsteps faded into the home office. The home office door was shut tightly. My fingers unconsciously curled up. At home, Marcus never closed doors. He was always worried I'd have an accident because I couldn't see, so he'd peek out from time to check on me. But now, the door was closed. I felt the silk lingerie under the throw pillow, gritted my teeth, and fumbled my way to the home office door. The soundproofing at home was mediocre, and I could vaguely hear their conversation through the crack in the door. It was entirely different from the RK scenario I had imagined. The woman who had just called me Grace now had a soft, seductive voice, saying intimate things to Marcus. "Marcus, see? Grace didn't notice, did she?" "Didn't notice what?" "She can't see. As long as we're quiet." The implication in her words was too obvious, leaving me no choice but to overthink. "That's still not okay," Marcus's voice said. "You coming in last time was an accident. This is the last time, don't let it happen again." As he spoke, Marcus suddenly fell silent. When I listened more closely, I heard a sticky, wet sound from inside. I froze on the spot. After 3 years of marriage, I was all too familiar with that sound. They were kissing. Whenever used to kiss me, he would gently cover my eyes and say, "Grace, listen. This is the sound of my love for you." So now, had that love been transferred to someone else? My body went limp. I instinctively reached for my lower abdomen and the wall, but I still fell, making a loud thud that startled the people in the home office. I quickly returned to the couch and sat down properly. The home office door quickly opened from inside, and Marcus rushed to my side. "Grace, what happened? Did you fall somewhere? Let me see. How could you be so careless?" As he spoke, he pulled open the medicine cabinet, took out the antiseptic solution, and disinfected the wound on my knee. I sat motionless, gazing at him with my lifeless eyes. I still couldn't believe that Marcus would cheat. His current behavior was no different from how he'd always been. From being so impoverished he had to live in a rental apartment and work 3 jobs to make ends meet, to now having built his fortune from scratch and being recognized as an outstanding young entrepreneur. Marcus had always consistently kneeled before me to tend to my wounds. I fumbled with one hand to touch his lips, then felt the faint wetness he hadn't wiped away. "What's this?" Marcus froze, seeming to realize something, and quickly raised his hand to wipe it away. "Just from drinking water," he said. "Didn't have time to wipe it off." Just then, Chloe, who had been silent, suddenly let out a laugh. A sharp pain shot through my heart. I was about to speak, but Marcus spoke first. "Grace, what do you want to eat today? I'll make it for you." I didn't respond. Instead, I turned towards where the laughter had come from and asked, "Are you still not done? I'd like to be alone with you for a bit." Only then did Marcus realize Chloe was still there. His expression darkened, and he said, "Go home by yourself. You can claim the taxi fare from accounting tomorrow." As he spoke, he stroked my cheek and tried to put a strawberry in my mouth, but I pulled away. Seeing this, Chloe said, "Mr. Marcus, if Grace doesn't like them, you can give them to me." I tightly clutched the bag of strawberries. Chloe seemed to notice and added, "I haven't had a chance to taste Mr. Marcus's cooking yet. Can I stay for dinner? I'd never liked having strangers in the house." Marcus had always remembered this, so he refused without hesitation. Another time. You should go now. His attitude towards Chloe was completely different from his attitude towards me. It was utterly cold. The smile instantly vanished from Chloe's face. She glanced at me, turned, and left, her high heels clicking loudly. I didn't like that sound, but thankfully, it soon disappeared. I breathed a sigh of relief. As prepared to get up and make dinner, I pulled him back, wanting to talk to him. Just then, Marcus's phone rang. It rang urgently. Marcus released my hand and walked aside to answer it. I could vaguely make out a woman's voice, but I couldn't distinguish the specifics. Not long after, Marcus quickly crouched in front of me, patted my hand, and said, "Grace, there's a last-minute business networking event at the company. I need to step out for a bit. I've ordered takeout for you. When it arrives, Buddy can bring it to you." Buddy was the dog Marcus and I raised. He was very well behaved, but now Marcus had left both him and me at home. Before left, I asked him, "Do you really have to go today?" Marcus stroked my hair. A pungent scent of perfume clung to his fingers. "Be good." Click. The entryway door closed. I stood there, holding the lace lingerie and the pregnancy test results I had intended to surprise him with, feeling utterly lost. "Grace, I can't come home tonight. A few of the partners got drunk and insisted on going to karaoke all night. I'll head back tomorrow morning after I've dropped them off. I'll bring you your favorite soup dumplings." He hung up before he even finished speaking, before I could respond. Just before the dial tone clicked, I thought I heard a faint, lingering moan. There were no partners. He was with that woman from earlier. I curled up on the sofa, my mind in utter chaos. Unable to comprehend what was happening, I called Sarah. "Sarah, what if? What if Marcus is cheating?" Sarah had always had a good impression of Marcus. Her immediate reaction was to deny it. Impossible. Even if, for argument's sake, he did, how can a man not make mistakes? Marcus is already very good, you need to hold on to him. Besides, isn't it possible you misheard? A dull ache throbbed in my chest. I said flatly, "My hearing is fine." Sarah sighed. "You can't see, Grace. You need to see things with your own eyes to believe them." Beep. Another call came in. I answered it before Sarah could continue. It was the delivery. I called Buddy to open the door, thinking it was the dinner Marcus had ordered for me. To my surprise, it was the birthday cake I'd ordered in advance. I waited all night, but the takeout Marcus mentioned never arrived. He forgot. It's all my fault. I could just die. I'll beg for forgiveness on my knees, please. Grace, you're so generous, just forgive me this once. Marcus knelt by the bed, holding the soup dumplings, coaxing me for half an hour. Seeing him like that, my heart softened, and I relented. He immediately spooned the soup dumplings into my mouth, feeding me while explaining his plan for compensation. He said he would take me to the amusement park. I hadn't been since I lost my sight. I used to be like a child, loving it most when he went with me. So specifically took time off. But I said with a flat expression, "I can't see, so there's nothing fun about it." Marcus didn't like hearing that. He gently tapped my hand and pretended to be annoyed, saying, "What are you talking about? I am your eyes, always have been, always will be." My heart softened. The child couldn't be born without a father, so I agreed. The amusement park trip was fairly pleasant. Marcus had prepared sunglasses for me, held my hand the entire time without letting go, bought me ice cream and cotton candy, and even kissed my forehead on the Ferris wheel. The happiness of the past enveloped me. I was moved, and I stroked my abdomen, wanting to tell him we were having a baby. Just then, Marcus's phone rang. The space inside the Ferris wheel cabin was small, so Marcus didn't answer. But as soon as we got off, he told me to wait patiently in place, saying he'd be right back. Marcus left. I stood in the bustling amusement park, afraid to move. I couldn't see, nor could I find my way. Marcus had taken me out today, and I hadn't even brought my white cane. Suddenly, I felt helpless and rigid, standing in the bustling amusement park. Just like when I was a child and didn't listen to my father, getting left behind in the amusement park. Actually, I never really liked amusement parks. I used to like coming because Marcus always protected me so well. Now he was gone. Thud. An impact hit me. I was weak and stumbled 2 steps. Just then, a slightly familiar female voice spoke. "Grace, why are you here alone?" It was Chloe. I pressed my lips together and said coldly, "I'm waiting for Marcus." "Marcus?" Chloe stroked the little boy's head in front of her, looked around, then suddenly Leah Ned in and whispered to me, "He's gone." I didn't move. "He doesn't want you anymore, Grace." Cold sweat began to prickle my back, but I couldn't see, so there was nowhere to escape. "It has nothing to do with you," I said, feigning composure, though a storm raged within me. Chloe let out a soft laugh, as if she'd heard something utterly ridiculous. "How could it have nothing to do with me? Grace, you found the lingerie I left at your house, didn't you?" My heart gave a sudden jolt. This time no one had bumped me, yet I felt as if an invisible force pushed me, and I couldn't help but step back. "What do you mean?" I tried to keep my voice calm, but the panic inside was impossible to hide. Chloe looked at me, her eyes glinting with a hint of triumph and provocation. "What else could I mean? Grace, Marcus doesn't love you anymore. I'm younger, prettier, and a healthy, normal person. He stopped loving you a long time ago." Every single word of hers felt like a sharp blade, stabbing deep into my heart. I raised my voice, trying to conceal the fear and unease within me. Impossible. I needed to find Marcus. I needed to ask him myself. My hand trembled as I fumbled for my phone in my pocket, but before I could take it out, Chloe pressed down on my wrist. "He'll be right back, Grace," she said softly, a hint of mockery in her voice. "He's just going to buy me a balloon. Do you want to know if he still loves you?" she continued. "In a bit, see if you can make him stay. If you can't, well, don't blame me." I froze, my mind a jumble of emotions. I didn't know how to deal with this situation, where Marcus was, or what he was thinking. I only felt a wave of dizziness, as if my entire world was collapsing at that very moment. Chloe finished speaking and left. The clatter of her high heels faded from my ears. Soon after, Marcus's voice reappeared. As if seeing a lifeline, I desperately clutched his hand. "Where did you go? Where did you go?" My emotions were unstable. Marcus, startled and flustered, pulled me into his embrace. "Grace, what's wrong?" "I'm right here. There was a child crying over there, and no parents around, so I went to help look after him for a bit." "Crying?" My hearing is excellent. How could I not have heard a child crying? A lie. I distinctly smelled perfume on Marcus. It wasn't mine, I never wore perfume. But at that moment, I didn't want to stay in the amusement park for another second. I wanted to go home. I gripped Marcus tightly, my fingertips turning white from the force. "I don't want to play anymore. I want to go home." Marcus hastily agreed. But his phone rang again. Perfect timing, just when I felt helpless and afraid. Marcus initially didn't answer, but after several consecutive rings, he finally picked up. "Stop calling me," Marcus said, lowering his voice, a look of anger on his face. But he froze, seemingly at something the other person said, and asked, "Really?" He then led me to the entrance of the amusement park. Marcus grasped my hand, full of apology. "Grace, I have an urgent matter. I've called a car for you. It will take you home in a moment. Just go straight upstairs, you know our place best. You'll be fine." I remembered Chloe's words. I gripped his hand back. "Come home with me." As I spoke, my lips moved, and I added, "I'm scared." Marcus froze. After 3 years of marriage, it had been a long time since I'd shown such vulnerability or acted so coquettishly with him. This made him sense that something was amiss. But in the end, he merely leaned in to kiss me. A chilling coldness crept up from my feet, and I pulled away. Marcus's kiss landed on my forehead. "The car's here. Grace, go home and be good." Marcus helped me into the car. Through the window, I gazed in the direction of his scent. My voice was small. "Marcus, I actually prepared a surprise for you." Marcus ruffled my hair. "Wait until I get home tonight to see it." He left. The next second, an unknown number called my cell phone. It was Chloe. "Will you still say he loves you now, Grace?" I clutched my knees tightly, not making a sound. Chloe continued, "Don't be foolish. How can you compare to me when you haven't been able to have a child in 3 years? Grace, I'm pregnant. You and Marcus are over." I returned home, utterly devastated. As I fumbled to push open the door, it swung inward. It was Eleanor. She had arrived at some unknown time and opened the door with a spare key. As soon as she saw me, she sneered, "The blind woman is back." I didn't speak, trying to bypass her and go inside. But she tooted. Perhaps seeing my pitiful state, she didn't torment me further. Instead, she handed me a glass of warm water and told me to drink it and go to bed early. I drank it. Exhausted, I had no energy to think further. I just hadn't expected that after drinking the water, my eyelids would grow heavy, quickly unable to stay open, and I would fall into a deep sleep. But after losing my sight, my sleep hadn't been good. I would wake up at the slightest sound. Even after taking sleeping pills, it was the same. In the dead of night, I couldn't tell what time it was. I opened my eyes in bed, and what woke me was the continuous, intimate movement beside me. My body stiffened, and I didn't dare move, but sharply sensed that something was wrong with me. He pushed Chloe off him. Seeing this, the woman mumbled softly. "She's not awake, is she?" Marcus nudged my shoulder. Only then did I belatedly realize what they were doing. They were actually on my marital bed. I clenched my teeth, and before Marcus touched me, I spoke softly. "Marcus? Where are you?" I reached out my hands, wanting to feel around, and Marcus's hand immediately slipped into mine. "Grace, why are you awake? Didn't you sleep well?" I paused, suppressing my sorrow, wanting to drive them both off the bed. "I feel like I'm sleeping on a boat, it's very shaky." As I spoke, I turned my head. Marcus let out a short ah, and was about to say something when he suddenly hissed. I blinked, and then heard Chloe, in what she thought was a very quiet voice, say to Marcus, "It's fine. She can't see." My hand, resting on my lower abdomen, suddenly clenched. A choking sensation, as if my throat was being squeezed, enveloped me. But soon, the familiar sound of kissing covered everything. They were kissing right in front of me. Just because I couldn't see. Just because I was blind. Suddenly, I felt so tired. I stumbled and climbed out of bed. Marcus tried to follow me but was pulled back, and I took the opportunity to get away from him. "I'm going out for some air." I left. As I closed the door, Chloe let out a soft, sweet chuckle. How thrilling, isn't it? A blind wife on one side, and a newly pregnant woman on the other. I closed the door behind me. Eleanor had left at some point, and she'd thrown the birthday cake I'd put in the fridge into the trash can. Buddy tried to retrieve it but knocked over the trash can. When I came out, all I felt was a slippery mess underfoot. Thud. I lost my balance and fell. The sound was loud. Marcus in the bedroom heard it and immediately moved to get out of bed, but Chloe called out to stop him. I heard it very clearly. She said, "Marcus, the baby in my belly misses you. He doesn't want Daddy to leave." Marcus hesitated. Ultimately, he merely shouted through the door, "Grace, are you all right?" I clutched my throbbing abdomen, tears streaming down my face, and choked out, "I'm fine." Immediately, the storm of passion in the bedroom seemed to drown out my pain. The pain in my lower abdomen grew worse and worse. Finally, when I reached down, I felt the sickeningly sweet blood. I'd heard that when a child couldn't feel its parents' love, it would choose to leave on its own. So he was also urging me to leave, wasn't he? I cried silently. Buddy sensed my sorrow and whimpered, pawing at the door, but the people in the bedroom were too preoccupied to notice him. I gently wrapped my arm around Buddy, using his support to guide me out the door. A trail of blood dragged behind me the entire way. "Sarah, did I finally see it with my own eyes this time?" Marcus's call came just as I was getting up from the hospital bed. The doctor had just delivered the devastating news in front of me, and I answered the phone expressionlessly. "Grace, where are you? Why is the living room floor covered in blood? Did you hurt yourself anywhere? I'm coming to pick you up right now." As spoke, a woman's voice sounded from behind him. "Marcus, Eleanor wants you to come with me for my prenatal checkup today." Marcus was holding his breath, waiting for my reply. Hearing this, his face hardened. "Go by yourself. Can't you see my Grace is hurt? I need to take her to the hospital." My fingers unconsciously twisted the bedsheet. Only then did I realize that after 3 years of blindness, Marcus's face had gradually blurred in my mind. In the past, he would spend long stretches of time describing his features to me, taking my hand and tracing his face. But yesterday, he was with another woman in bed. Just because I couldn't see. So, did it matter if I remembered or not? I released the bedsheet and said softly, "No need. I'm already at the hospital. I'll go back this afternoon." I couldn't continue living in a home where my child had died. I needed to go home to pack my things and, at the same time, say goodbye to Marcus. Before I could finish speaking, an annoyed male voice abruptly cut into my conversation with Marcus. "What's a patient doing on the phone? Are you family?" I reflexively nodded, then paused for 2 seconds and shook my head. Marcus no longer counted as my family. Then why are you even answering? Be careful, a nuisance call could delay your recovery. With that, the phone was snatched from my hand and hung up directly. On the other end of the line, Marcus only managed to utter, "Who is that?" before the connection went dead. A warm palm covered my eyes. He unfamiliar man then said, "Get some good rest. You just had a miscarriage, you need complete bed rest." I pulled my hand away. After 13 years with Marcus, I was unaccustomed to others touching me. "Who are you?" Ethan raised an eyebrow, naturally sliding his hands into the pockets of his lab coat. "Grace, have you forgotten me?" I was perplexed. The discomfort in my body made me look especially pale, and my lifeless eyes stared blankly at him. Ethan looked at me for a long time. After a moment, he leaned over to tuck in my blanket. "Never mind," he murmured softly. 3 years ago, when you were in that car accident, I was your attending physician. I only managed to save your life then, but not your eyes." Ethan could never forget the helpless weeping of the woman before him when she woke up to utter darkness. Tears streamed down her face as she fumbled to touch her eyes, but those beautiful eyes held no glimmer of light. This was truly a major failure in my medical career. "So I went abroad for 3 years of advanced study, constantly researching your condition, and only returned to the country a week ago." My condition? I was completely bewildered. To be honest, I'd forgotten even what the man in front of me looked like. Only then did I realize that ever since I went blind, Marcus had consumed my entire life. Otherwise, who did you think arranged for the private doctor to contact you for eye repair and examinations? "All right," Ethan said. Seeing my face grow paler, he proactively ended the conversation and told me to rest well. He was very assertive. He simply identified himself as family, paid my hospital fees, and forcefully made me stay for complete bed rest. As a result, it was a week later before I returned to Marcus's home to retrieve my things and saw him again. That week, Marcus received no news of me. He didn't even go to the office, staying home day and night, waiting for me. When I opened the front door, he rushed out faster than Buddy. "Grace, where have you been this past week?" Marcus took my hand and guided it to his face. His stubble pricked my skin, but I no longer unhurriedly led him to shave as I used to. I merely removed my hand and walked past him. "To pack my things." "Pack your things?" Marcus exclaimed, shocked. "Pack what? Are you leaving me, Grace?" At this, Marcus remembered the phone call and suddenly grabbed my shoulders. "That man. Have you been fooling around with another man behind my back this past week? Grace, how could you betray me?" he roared. Slap. I put all my strength into it and slapped in the direction of his voice. "Who's the real betrayer?" "Grace, what do you mean by that?" Marcus clutched his face, immediately filled with panic. Do you know something?" His voice trembled slightly. I truly didn't want to deal with him. I called Buddy and, relying on my memory, headed towards the bedroom. My suitcase was in the closet, I needed to find it. But when I actually opened the closet, I didn't feel my suitcase. Instead, I felt piece after piece of clothing that wasn't mine. I had said I never wore lace. A faint scoff escaped my desolate heart. I stood up and dropped the clothes I was holding onto the floor. "Where's my suitcase?" Marcus, intimidated by my expression, hurriedly stood beside me and began rummaging through everything. "Grace, are you going somewhere? Where do you want to go?" "I'll come with you." "I'm not going out." "Then what do you need a suitcase for?" Marcus stammered awkwardly. He then stepped on something, looked down, and saw lace dress. His eyes widened. He looked at me, then quickly squatted down to pick them up. Grace, these are from when Eleanor came to stay for 2 days. You suddenly disappeared, and she was worried about my desolate state, so she came to take care of me." Hearing that, a chill ran down my spine. My fists at my sides clenched and unclenched. I lowered my gaze. "Marcus, do you think I'm a fool?" Marcus froze. Then he quickly clutched my legs, still trying to explain. I shook my head. "Marcus, I'm blind, but I'm not stupid. I can hear, and I can feel." No, that's not it." Marcus realized what I was about to say and shook his head repeatedly, but I no longer indulged him. I tore away his last shred of pretense. "You cheated. Right in front of me, on our bed." I kicked Marcus away. My body, just recovering from a serious illness, wasn't very strong. I stumbled, no longer prepared to pack my luggage, and turned to leave. But before I left, I called Buddy. Buddy was very close to me. Sensing my intention, he nudged the leash into my hand. Let's go. I stepped over the threshold. Marcus's home was at the end of the hallway. It was a bright winter day, and the fierce, dazzling light streamed into my lifeless eyes. I said, goodbye. Marcus, unwilling to give up, chased me out the door, trying to use his male strength to stop me. Buddy, who was usually docile, suddenly barked wildly. The barking drew out curious neighbors, who opened their doors to watch, and also attracted Ethan, who had been waiting at the stairwell. Ethan rushed to my side in a few quick strides, shielding me. Seeing this, Marcus, who was already on the verge of a breakdown, blurted out words filled with both accusation and guilt. So you left me just to be with him, didn't you, Grace? Chloe and I, it's really not what you think. Eleanor and I just wanted to lighten your burden. You can't see, and you're not well, so we just wanted her to have a child for our family. I still love you. I laughed as I listened. I couldn't see Marcus, but the image of the carefree, smiling youth he once was shattered into pieces in my mind. I stroked Buddy's head and said, Marcus, why I can't see. Have you forgotten? Marcus stiffened. He opened his mouth but couldn't speak. I continued, do you really think that not being able to conceive for 3 years was my fault? Marcus, have you been tested? I left, brushing past Chloe, who had rushed over. As she passed me, her gaze flickered to Ethan beside me, and she let out a soft sneer. You should have let go a long time ago. From now on, Marcus will have me and our child by his side, so you can rest easy. I couldn't see her face, but I heard Ethan tut. I pressed down on Ethan's hand and walked directly past Chloe. You're dreaming too big. I wasn't a fool, and neither was Marcus. It was just a pity Chloe didn't hear it. She lightly ran to Marcus, about to help him up, but he slapped her hard. It's all your fault. Marcus erupted in fury. He glared viciously at Chloe, hating himself, and hating Chloe even more. He remembered at the very beginning, he had resisted Chloe's advances in every way, even considering firing her. But a mysterious drunken night changed everything. When he woke up again, he was greeted by Chloe, covered in marks, and a home pregnancy test 2 weeks later. He had a child. Marcus had always wanted a child. But my womb had remained barren for 3 years, and at Chloe and Eleanor's persuasion, he agreed to keep it a secret from me. However, Chloe didn't just want compensation for bearing a child, she also wanted the title of Mrs. Marcus, Mr. Marcus's wife. She challenged my boundaries again and again, feeding Marcus carefully prepared sugar-coated bullets, and finally, she appeared in my bed. Marcus's enemy-like gaze terrified Chloe. Her face swelling, she timidly forced a smile. Marcus, what's wrong? As she spoke, she subtly clutched her lower abdomen. She knew Marcus loved children, so this was her get-out-of-jail-free card. Did misunderstand? I'll go explain to her. Explain? Marcus sneered. He grabbed Chloe, disregarding her pained struggles, and dragged her into the house, lingerie on the floor. Tell me, what is this? Marcus remembered clearly that on the day I left, he had warned Chloe there would be no next time. She was not to enter his and my home again, nor was any trace of her appear in this house. But not only didn't listen, she even put these things in the closet while he was asleep. Exactly where I kept my suitcase. You planned this, didn't you? You knew Grace would come back, knew she'd find them. What exactly were you thinking? Explain yourself to me. Chloe's eyes welled up with tears in an instant, and she wept profusely. Marcus, I truly didn't mean it. I forgot to take it last time. Liar. Chloe, how dare you lie to me again? Without another word, Marcus slapped Chloe. The other side of Chloe's face and her eye instantly swelled, and blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. She was terrified. She had never seen Marcus like this. She hastily revealed her abdomen to him. Marcus, please, forgive me for the baby's sake. Exactly, Eleanor, who had received news beforehand, also rushed over. She tenderly helped Chloe up and urged, Marcus, if you don't consider her, at least consider the child. This is our family's descendant. She's not like that blind woman who couldn't bear a child in 3 years. I really don't know what use she is. Shut up. Marcus roared, startling Eleanor too. She opened her mouth to speak again but was thoroughly silenced by Marcus's murderous gaze. Eleanor, Marcus called out, and with one hand, he tried to pull Chloe, who was huddled in Eleanor's arms, back to him. Eleanor refused, and Chloe dared not let go. Then, Marcus asked, do you know if there's something wrong with my body? 08, you're my son. How could there be something wrong with your body? Who said that? I'll go find her. Eleanor yelled and screamed, but a flicker of guilt flashed in her eyes. Marcus caught it, and his heart twisted in agony. So it's me who has the problem, not Grace, right? Eleanor remained stubborn. It can't be your problem. Marcus lowered his head, then suddenly chuckled twice before looking up. The face that had once shielded others from wind and rain was now streaked with tears. Eleanor, I'm not a fool. With that, he quickly stood up, disregarding Chloe's struggles and Eleanor's attempts to stop him, and dragged the woman out by her hair. Marcus, what are you doing? Eleanor yelled. Marcus, the baby, our baby. Aren't you going to care about the baby, Marcus? Chloe shrieked. Her once clicking high heels were kicked off, but she still couldn't break free from Marcus's grip. She was no match for his strength. Marcus, expressionless, replied, if it's not Grace's and my child, then I don't want it. Chloe was stunned, even forgetting to cry. She was dragged all the way into the elevator and thrown into the car. Marcus shook his hand, tossing away the handful of hair he had ripped off, and drove straight to the hospital. He was going to abort the baby. Don't be nervous, don't be afraid. Ethan leaned beside me, gently prying open my eyelids to carefully examine my eyes. I didn't know what was so interesting about them, but he examined them very carefully. Currently, they look a bit better than before, but not significantly. You still need surgery, and I'll be performing it. After the operation, there's a very high probability you'll gradually regain your sight. After he finished speaking, he stared at me for a long time. Are you willing? I hesitated. Although I had consistently had my eyes checked over the past 3 years, at the time, it was so Marcus and I could have a better life and to lessen his guilt. Because these eyes of mine went blind during the car accident when I desperately tried to protect him. From then on, he was always careful around me. He even held a wedding not long after to make me believe in his unwavering love for me. Looking back now, it was nothing more than guilt and a desire to compensate. We had been in love for 10 years but never married. Perhaps heaven was trying to prevent me from taking a wrong turn, but I didn't listen to the warning, sacrificing 3 years, my eyes, and an unborn child. I instinctively touched my lower abdomen. Ethan noticed, put down the cold instruments in his hand, and said to me, would you like to hear the ocean? Hear the ocean? Normally, don't people see the ocean? It was rare for me to initiate a conversation with him. I chuckled, wondering if he'd misspoken. But when I sat on the rocks by the sea that evening, wrapped in a blanket, I understood that it truly was about hearing. I was blind. I couldn't see the dark, silent ocean, nor the pecking seagulls or a bright future. In response, Ethan simply stubbornly pressed my head onto his shoulder, telling me to listen. Listen to what? I could originally hear the whooshing sea breeze and the crashing waves, but now all I could hear was his quickening heartbeat. I pulled a bottle of wine from a plastic bag beside me and gestured for him to open it. When he handed it to me, I said, I'm not looking for a romantic relationship right now. Ethan, usually quick-witted, paused. Who said I wanted a romantic relationship with you? I relaxed my body and leaned back against his shoulder. Good then. Ethan had spent the night out in the wind with me, and as dawn slowly broke, I made to leave, but he grabbed my hand. The wind was strong, and he shouted with all his might. Grace, I want you to see the sunrise. Grace, turn around. With my back to him, I shouted back, did you forget? I'm blind. Ethan was undeterred. Then just listen. Just feel it. Once I restore your sight, you can come back and see the sunrise. Grace, don't you want to see it? I paused, not replying for a long moment. Then, he stepped up beside me, placed both hands on my shoulders, and softly said, turn around. The fiery red sun rose from the sea, and its golden light fell on my eyelids. I felt a gentle warmth. I grabbed Ethan's hand. I'll do it. As I was wheeled into the operating room, I heard heart-wrenching screams from the hallway. The voice sounded somewhat familiar, but Ethan closed the door. All you need to do is sleep. Liar. You're a complete and utter liar. Eleanor gripped Chloe's hair, dragging the woman, who had just recently undergone surgery, off the hospital bed. What did you tell me then? You said this was definitely my son's child, and what's the result now? Eleanor was formidable. She slammed the paternity test results hard onto Chloe's face. You deserve to die. With that, she violently beat Chloe, who, still weak from her surgery, was utterly powerless to resist. At that moment, Marcus, who had been sitting nearby, loudly interrupted them. Stop it. He clutched his face, and then, reverting to his original state, all he could say was, "Grace, my Grace." Eleanor realized her mistake then and quickly rushed to him. "Marcus, Mom was wrong. I'll go with you to find Grace, apologize to her, and persuade her to come back." Upon hearing this, Chloe got off the bed without a word and knelt before Marcus. Tears streamed down her face. "Marcus, I was wrong. I truly didn't know this child wasn't yours. For the sake of our past relationship, can you give me some money? Even half of what we originally agreed upon would be fine. Please, Marcus." But what awaited her was not Marcus's charity or compassion, but Eleanor's even more violent beating. "You vile woman. You still want money from our Shin family. In your dreams." At first, Chloe's response to Eleanor was pitiful begging, but then it turned to aggression. "It's clearly your son who's infertile. If you don't give me money, I'll expose everything." Enough. Marcus was suffering from a splitting headache. He couldn't bear to listen anymore, so he opened the door and ran straight out. It wasn't until the door slowly closed behind him that he realized his face was streaked with tears. Overwhelmed by agony, he slowly squatted down, covering his face and weeping. Just then, his assistant called him. "Mr. Marcus, we have news of your wife." Marcus suddenly looked up. "Where is she?" As the anesthesia wore off and I slowly opened my eyes, I couldn't help but let out a gasp. The world suddenly became incredibly clear. It was like a slowly unfolding oil painting, and I was like a homeless person who hadn't seen an art exhibition in years. Then I saw a nervous Ethan beside me. Tall and handsome, he was gazing intently at me, and when he saw my eyes open, he even raised a hand and waved it in front of me. "I can see," I whispered. Ethan froze. I was amused by his expression and called his name, "Ethan." Immediately, this big man suddenly turned his back, his shoulders shaking. I was startled and made to sit up, but as if he had eyes in the back of his head, he pressed me back down. "You just had surgery, you can't move around. You need at least 3 days of bed rest." He spoke, but my eyes only saw his rabbit-red eyes. "You're crying," I said. Ethan stubbornly insisted, "I'm just excited." "Excited about what?" "That 3 years of research have finally succeeded." I nodded, and just as I wasn't going to ask any more questions, he added, "For you." With that, a gentle breeze blew through the window. He turned to close it, and as I watched his back, I felt my heart pound. But before I could think too much, an uninvited guest appeared in the hospital room. "Grace?" Marcus asked uncertainly. He hadn't seen my eyes shining in 3 years, and now that he did, he almost didn't recognize me. "Are you Grace?" he asked again. To be honest, the moment I saw Marcus, I felt nothing but a sense of strangeness. 3 years was enough to change so much. I had thought he was still the vibrant, spirited young man he once was, but the affair had shattered my idealized image. Now that I truly saw him, I realized that time had changed everything beyond recognition. My blindness had prolonged my love for him. It turned out that sight wasn't necessary for love. In fact, it was only when I couldn't see that I truly loved enough. I stared at him for a long time before I managed to utter a few words. "What are you doing here?" Marcus choked, and surprise surfaced in his eyes. "Grace, you can see now?" I didn't respond. Marcus still had tears streaking his face and was about to lunge at me, but Ethan was a step faster. Being someone who exercised regularly, he swiftly restrained Marcus. After getting my nod, he was ready to throw him out without a second thought, but was not to be trifled with. He had been irritated by Ethan for a long time, and he turned and threw a punch. In the blink of an eye, they were grappling with each other until security arrived and separated them. Marcus, his face swollen, protested, "I'm seeing my wife." "What business is it of yours?" Ethan didn't speak, so I spoke first. "I'm not your wife." To my surprise, Marcus had his marriage certificate with him. He took it out and held it up like a treasure. "I have our marriage certificate." I closed my eyes. "Marcus, I'm being discharged in 3 days. I'll divorce you then." This farce needed to end. Hearing my words, Marcus flew into a rage on the spot. But he was no match for them, and this time, he was truly thrown out. However, for the next 3 days, Marcus persistently knelt at the door of my hospital room. He wasn't an unknown figure. People passing by recognized him, filmed him, and posted the videos online. Outstanding entrepreneur to win his instantly became a trending topic, and the news went viral. The bruised and battered Chloe naturally noticed. She appeared before me on the day of my discharge. Leaning on Ethan, I saw her face and finally understood that sound of exasperation Marcus had made when I left his home. The reason was simple: Chloe looked too much like me. She was practically my younger self. No wonder Marcus had been lured in. I shook my head, a wry smile escaping me, but was far from pleased to see Chloe. He offered me an apologetic smile and unhesitatingly went to drag Chloe away. Chloe had clearly come prepared this time. She took out proof of her intimate relationship with Marcus and, in front of everyone, threatened him for money. Marcus didn't want to argue with her in front of me and tried to drag Chloe away, but capitalized on this, sliding her phone onto the floor at my feet. The album password is 0712. Marcus, give me money, or I'll tell her the password to the hidden album too. Marcus panicked. He let go of Chloe, asking her how much she wanted while reaching for the phone in my hand. But he was a step too slow. I tapped the video, watched for just 2 seconds, and then turned the screen to face him. I wish you both happiness. Marcus opened his mouth to explain, but Ethan held him back. I placed the phone back in Marcus's hand and didn't look at him again. It was only at this moment that Marcus finally understood from my demeanor. My feelings for him were truly gone. This video, along with Marcus's and Chloe's private videos, was posted online by a busybody. By the time Eleanor noticed, it was too late. She rushed angrily to Marcus's home, and as she pushed the door open, a pervasive stench of alcohol enveloped him. Marcus, are you insane? You're falling apart over a woman? Eleanor tried to grab Marcus's shoulder, but he shoved her away, then picked up another bottle of liquor and poured it down his throat. Mom, Grace is gone. She really doesn't want me anymore. Eleanor was furious and slapped Marcus hard across the face. Useless, she seethed through gritted teeth. But, his eyes bloodshot, merely reached under the table and pulled out a box. It was a surprise I had prepared for him. It was meant as a surprise, but it was delivered too late, becoming a farewell instead. Marcus handed a piece of paper from the box to Eleanor, a smile more painful than tears on his face. Mom, Grace was pregnant with my child once. Eleanor didn't believe it, but when she took the paper, her hands trembled uncontrollably. Fake. It must be fake. Eleanor said this, meticulously examining the pregnancy test results several times, before tears streamed down her face, and her legs gave out, causing her to collapse to the floor. Marcus, go get Grace back. Marcus shook his head and handed her the divorce certificate clutched in his hand. Mom, it's too late. Thanks to Chloe delaying Marcus that day, I had time to go home and pack my bags. Having my sight back made everything different. I moved with surprising ease, navigating the clutter in the house. But at the very end, I realized I had very little luggage. My only large item was Buddy, who was yelping excitedly. He followed me, constantly nudging my leg and repeatedly placing his leash in my hand. Do you want to come with me? I squatted down and petted his head. Buddy let out a long howl. And so, under Ethan's protection, I successfully boarded a plane to the Mediterranean. Ethan stayed right by my side, never leaving. As I buckled my seatbelt, I asked him, why are you following me? Aren't you working? Ethan shrugged lightly. As a dedicated doctor, I'm responsible for my patient. So? I asked, feigning indifference as I looked at him. Ethan smiled naturally. To watch the sea with you. I smiled. In the days that followed, I learned about Marcus's fate from relatives and friends. It was said that his and Chloe's affair had caused such a massive scandal, drawing countless negative comments. The company's performance plummeted, it was on the verge of bankruptcy, and he was completely overwhelmed, scrambling to pull strings and humble himself to others. He was essentially finished. As for Chloe, she trended negatively online, her residential address was doxed, and she was pelted with rotten eggs daily. So she packed her bags and fled, disappearing without a trace. I imagine she won't have an easy life from now on. But none of this had anything to do with me. I started a new life in the beautiful and romantic Mediterranean. I ran freely on the beach in my beautiful swimsuit. Ethan captured this moment and posted it on his social media feed. The caption read, "Life is beautiful when you see it with your own eyes." My mom, Sarah, was the first to like it. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.